We have to write a blog on paper. It might sound strange, but you'll see it's not very difficult. First, let's look at the definition of a blog. We know that a blog is usually digital. It is something we view on a computer or device. It often includes hyperlinks, videos, and photographs. But don't worry, I'll explain how to incorporate those elements. Now, take a look at the second definition. There are some keywords that are worth noticing. Online publication. This reminds us that a blog is published online. The digital features are important to include so that your page looks and feels like a real blog. I'll show you how to do it. Relates to a particular topic. Most blogs focus on a specific topic or area of interest. This focus helps attract a particular audience. And finally, articles. In many ways, a blog entry isn't so different from an article. But unlike a traditional newspaper article, a blog often uses a more personal tone and includes more subjectivity. People read blogs not just for information, but because they enjoy the author's perspective and writing style. We'll explore this a bit later. So the features that we need to include. A web address. This can also double as your blog's title if you want. Remember, a blog is meant to be published online, so include some kind of realistic URL with www. A navigation bar. Create sections labeled in French to reflect the content of your blog. Icons for visual impact, so you see the house and the magnified. These are things that are used in France as well. So if you'd like, you can draw a small house, the icon for home, and a magnifying glass for search. It will make your blog layout look more authentic. A short, keyword-rich title. Keep it brief and relevant. Think about words that capture the topic of your blog. Date and time of publication. This is a typical feature of online posts and help make your blog look more realistic. And a comment section. Add a space for comments at the bottom of your blog. You can reuse the comments I'm showing you here for any text, but if you've got time, write a couple of example comments that respond directly. The text. Your text should be clearly organized with an introduction, body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Blog posts often include subheadings to guide the reader and break up the content. Consider using them to structure your ideas. If you want to insert a picture, simply draw a square and write a short caption or description inside, as you can see here. You can also add hyperlinks to make it feel more like a real blog, although, to be honest with you, I think hyperlinks are a bit optional, and so are pictures, really. Take time to carefully analyze your topic. Blogs are versatile, and their purpose can vary. Start by asking, what is the blog about? What content are you expected to include? And what type of writing is required? While blog entries are often informative, they can also be persuasive or evaluative, depending on the task. It's less likely to be personal, as that style is more typical of diary entries. As we've discussed before, the tone and audience need to be considered thoughtfully. Blogs are usually not very formal, but that doesn't mean that they are completely casual either. Most blog readers enjoy the author's voice and style, so a mildly formal tone is usually best. So what does that mean? We're probably not using je, unless it's personal, but it's quite unlikely, so not using je. You can include some idiomatic expressions, And you can adopt a sort of a relaxed, slightly subjective tone to make it engaging for your reader. This is a sample topic from VCA that I use as an example. My response is just one way to approach it. Now, there's different ways to answer this question. Take a moment to pause the video and read the text carefully. In this case, the kind of writing required is informative. We need to clearly explain the changes or evolution in young people's reading habits. The goal is to provide insight and context, not necessarily to argue or persuade. Now, typically, when we write about topics, we are not really necessarily experts about this topic. And I'm not an expert about how young people's reading habits have changed. So it's okay to include some details that you've sort of invented as long as they are plausible and realistic. In my example, I've made a few educated guesses to support my ideas, and that's acceptable. Here's an overview of my response. So you can see the general layout of the text, how it is structured and presented on the page. In the next slides, I'll go through the text with you step by step. Feel free to pause the video at any point if you'd like more time to read. So you recognize the text features, the blog's name and address, the navigation bar, the title, short with topic keywords, the date and time of publication. Now let's look at the introduction paragraph. First, notice the use of on. It helps to generalize and include the reader. Then with est-ce vrai, we have rhetorical questions, and it is used to engage the audience right from the start. In the sentence, there's also mention of activities typically associated with young people, and you will notice the use of dont to introduce a complex relative clause, which adds variety to the sentence structure. And the verb raffoler de is used. Alors that's quite specific, that's not a commonly used verb. And raffoler de means to really enjoy, to be crazy about. And finally, the expression le nez dans les livres, which is a French idiom meaning to be an avid reader, literally to have one's nose in books. Notice the use of the subheadings to clearly organize the content. In the first paragraph, we will also notice the topic-specific vocabulary, such as bibliothèque, library, lecteur et lectrice, male and female readers, livre et liseuse. Alors, une liseuse in French it's the French word for any reader. Lectorat, which refers to the overall readership or reading public. You will also look at linking words like cependant, however, and en fait that are used to help structure and develop ideas logically. The phrase certains diront is used to express a general opinion or introduce a commonly held point of view. Literally, it's like some would say. And also notice that there is a verb in the subjunctive form with soit. Alors, two more paragraphs. Let's look at it. Ces dernières années, that refers directly to the recent changes mentioned in the topic, so that's helping to link the response to the prompt. Les éditeurs is another example of topic-specific vocabulary because the editor is a publisher. L'INSEE, that's a cultural reference. In France, that's the national. This is the French National Statistics Bureau, l'INSEE. So it's similar to the ABS in Australia, the Australian Bureau of Statistics. You will also notice the C clause with the use of the conditional tense. So that's demonstrating more advanced grammar. And also at the end of that first paragraph, il n'y a pas de fumée sans feu. Literally, there is no smoke without fire. So that's an idiomatic expression which adds a natural, authentic French touch to the text. Alors, second paragraph. Des chercheurs se sont penchés. Alors, here I'm talking about researchers. I'm making this up, okay? But that's okay, because it's quite likely that researchers would have studied the habits of reading. Notice also the durant laquelle, which is a complex relative pronoun. And also in that paragraph, I'm contrasting the views of older generations with the younger readers, which is again what the topic is asking us to do. So finally, we get to the end of the text with the conclusion. So I'm using that as a subheading. Alors, this paragraph includes a reference to la querelle des anciens et des modernes. Alors, that's here that I'm adding a sort of a slightly subjective tone. It's not necessarily informative text. It's me as the author deciding to make a reference. And so it's a French cultural reference. I will put links for that in the video description so that you can look at it in more details if you're interested. Notice also the use of the present participle, which adds stylistic variety to the sentence structure. And the phrase depuis les temps anciens, that means since ancient times. This is pretty much the only time in French where temps, which is usually singular, is used in a plural, and that gives the sentence a more literary tone. Huh? You've got references to les peintures de Lascaux and Balzac. They are strong cultural references for France. So I'll include, again, links in the video description if you'd like to explore them more further. And the final sentence sort of wraps up the article effectively, offering a clear and thoughtful conclusion. And we've got the comment section that includes remarks that relate directly to the text. So the first one uses the phrase peinture rupestre, which are the cave paintings, and that connects back to the reference to Lascaux. And the last comment, the final comment, features an emoji and playfully refers to younger people's heavy use of TikTok, adding a modern and relatable touch to the text. Voilà. I hope this is going to be helpful for you.